But talk to us about the challenges. Like, what are some hiccups that you found early on that you've been able to, overcome, and maybe some advice for people that are looking to get through their first couple of acquisitions.
Yeah, number one, don't listen to any lawyers that want to extend things because lawyers get paid by the hour. And so when you're dealing with any of these things, you need to be first of all, you want to make sure you get a really good lawyer. It's okay to pay those higher prices, but be very
Right.
clear. Here is my budget, and if you go
Yeah.
over and don't get this done, that is on you, and that means you didn't ask the right questions because I'm
Yeah.
not paying over that fee. And lawyers, both sides will want to drag this out. Well, what about this? What about this? Literally, I won't mention the deal, but I had to take two lawyers in a room and I had to be their manager. And I said, no, both of you guys, I don't care. Shut up. This is
Right.
what we're doing. Answer their questions. There's no ambiguity. It's these things or nothing, and I'm walking. So
Right.
I think like that's number one is like no, because that bill will get expensive.
Oh yeah.
I think the second thing is just you have to find.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Today, I've got Nick on board with us, and he's going to give us all sorts of stuff. But before we go into that, Nick, who are you and what do you do?
Todd, thanks for having me. I'm a serial entrepreneur and I am a nerd on all things marketing. Right now, I'm the COO and co-owner at Doe Media, and we're going to be the next big thing when it comes to all things paid marketing and advertising.
I love it. I love it. Talk to me because a lot of people get scared about paid advertising. And what's your take on it? I mean, how do you talk people off that ledge?
Luckily in today's world, I think it's actually a little bit easier because a couple years ago, you're having conversations with business owners, and you're like, hey, you know, you should be doing Facebook ads, you should be doing Google ads. TikTok wasn't a thing at the time. Now it's
Right.
like, okay, they've already done Facebook ads, and luckily there's a lot of bad actors or people that just kind of
Sure.
don't really know what they're doing out there. So they have already been sold on the concept of paid ads. Now they just need an expert that actually knows how to take them to the next level. And that's what we do. I like to
I
tell
love it.
people it's really cool to, start fires, but we're the gasoline where you set that
Mm.
fire really going ablaze.
Okay. Okay. So what you're saying is a lot of people kind of tinker with it and try to run some ads on their own. But then when it's time to really turn up the volume, you guys are it.
Exactly. Exactly. You
I
bring us
like
in when
that.
you actually want to go to that next level.
I love it. I love it. And honestly, for those listening who are not running ads, it is a good idea to run ads. There's no doubt that running paid ads is going to drive more traffic to anything on your site, to anything in your digital footprint, and it just takes like throwing the gas onto a fire. Even a simple post that converts well, that has a lot of engagement, throw some money at it and then watch what happens. Am I wrong?
It's wild. It's wild. We've got some crazy stories. Like there's some businesses that we've worked with even back in 2018, 2019 that are still with us that, they started off in their closet or their dorm room with just a small
Love
little
it.
idea. And, now they have giant warehouses off of just this little idea and a little bit of Facebook, advertising and Google advertising. It's
I
it's
love it.
it's life-changing for a lot of people.
Well, there's a lot of agencies out there, like a lot. And a lot of people like to proclaim that they are all things, to everybody in terms of marketing. But you guys are not all things to everything to everybody. You are very hyper focused on the paid and on social media. And so walk us through like what differentiates you guys from a lot of the marketing agencies out there to try to profess that we've got such a big team, we're the best at everything.
That's a great question. So, what really separates us from everybody else is we were entrepreneurs first. We
Uh-huh.
owned and operated our own e-commerce and technology companies. And so along the way, we sold some and some other brands, came up to us. And I used to come from agency world. So in between starting and selling companies, I worked at a pretty big agency where I got to work on a lot of these brands and, really learn how to like scale a lot of these because,
Cool.
you got to have that knowledge unlock. And, a lot of people don't have that e-com knowledge or that business owner knowledge. And so
Agreed.
we take that same ethos and we put that into all of our team members so that they think and act just like a business owner would, just like a CMO would, and they speak to
Uh-huh.
that P&L level. We just happen to be kick-ass at advertising, but we're marketing gurus, or you know what? I hate that word guru. I don't even know why I said that, because probably just read something earlier. I was marketed to, but we are those e-commerce experts, and it's not just e-commerce, because we've actually expanded a lot into lead
Right.
generation and SaaS and app downloads, because at the end of the day, it's all about data, and we know
Yeah.
what to do with that data, and we know how to scale that data. And so we take that ownership approach, and it's not uncommon. 11 o'clock at night, I've got to be working on a client. I don't care. I treat it as if it were my own, and so
Right.
does everyone here.
Okay. So that actually does go a long way. I mean, that does help a lot of people feel more at peace knowing that someone has been an entrepreneur first and doesn't just like treat their company as this redheaded stepchild they got to go build some ads for. Like,
Exactly.
walk us through the strategy that you take most people through, right? And help us understand your avatar a little bit. Like, who is your preferred type of client? Is there a niche that you guys hit, or are you pretty like, I don't know, flexible depending on the type? Like, I personally remember I ran into a food company I did marketing with, and I was like, man, I am not a food marketer. I discovered I'm really good at other things, but the food marketing was hard for me. Like, where do you guys find your strength in diving into that?
I would say our strength, kind of going back to my gasoline comment earlier, is really centered around, if you already have traction,
Yeah,
you have a great product, people are coming back and buying your product, and you just need a lot more customers,
yeah,
that's when you hire us. You don't
okay,
necessarily want to hire us for starting that flame and building up that traction. And there's brands that we
right,
definitely have launched. You got to have a decent budget and marketing plan to do that. And some
right,
startups just don't have the same concept of that. But when you've already have some traction built in, and you've
yeah,
got all your systems and your supply chain and your
yeah,
sales team ready to deploy, that's when you want to work with us, because getting to 1 million, 5 million, or 10 million even,
yeah,
that's a feat in its own, and that's very, very difficult. But when you're at that 1 million, you need to go to 10, you hire us. When you're at that 10 and you need to go to 100, you hire
yeah,
us.
right,
You don't necessarily want to hire us to go to 1 million, and you're probably better off just figuring it out yourself. Or
right,
we even have a consulting program and our own training system where you can learn all of this on your own, and it's actually really good for most entrepreneurs to learn the ins and outs of this, because for most businesses, it's
right.
all driven by marketing and sales plus your product. And if you're a product designer or what have you, your product's kick ass. Well, now you got to get kick ass at marketing. And that'll just
Right.
tie those two together really well.
I agree. And what you said just went a long way with me, because I feel like this is a recurring theme on this show, is that you've got to make sure you know your fulfillment. You got to make sure you've actually got a sales process. Because if you drive a bunch of traffic and you get a bunch of leads and you don't have the system to actually fulfill it, tell us how that damages the business.
Oh, it's crazy. You could damage it in both ways. I like to tell everyone, it's like, there's good problems to have, and then there's bad problems to have. I want to
Right.
have those good problems where, like, you're selling out,
Fair
or
enough.
you don't want to be sitting with inventory, because if you're sitting with
Right.
inventory and you're paying to move that inventory,
Right.
that
Right.
is a
Right.
real pain. If you sell all your inventory, well, that means, hey, you probably got to increase your prices a little bit.
Right.
You probably need to plan a little bit more on how you want to deploy that, and depending
Right.
on when you're going to get your product back, you don't want to sell out and then you can't have enough product for the next 60 or 90 days, because when
Sure.
you completely turn off your ads, you're kind of screwed. You lose all those learnings, and you don't want to do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
if hey, things are going really good, but I'm not going to be able to get inventory for 90 days, that's when you kind of want to slow it down and be like, okay, let's at least pace it out for this next period. Maybe we sell out like 2 to 3 weeks before that product is going to land. And that way you
Love it.
can at least still run ads and pre-sell that product, or at least get people to sign up for your email list to
Right.
notify you when it comes back. If you have
Right.
other products, that could be a good time to upsell some of those products that are sitting on the shelf.
Right.
But you really got to know that supply chain too, because if you run into a case where you sell out, you pre-sell, and you get some damaged product, maybe you switched vendors or
Right.
something, or this is your second time buying from the vendor, the first time was
Right.
good, the second time wasn't, well, then you're in a little bit more trouble because you don't want to really pre-sale in that situation. So there's definitely some knowledge that goes into different scenarios for sure.
And I am so glad you're here. And I just wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about a program that we have assembled with a lot of our podcast guests and a lot of people who are listening to the show who are feeling the same way that they do. There's a recurring theme. You'll hear a lot of these founders talk about, I couldn't have done it without my team. I couldn't have done it without a support group of peers. I couldn't have done it without having someone to talk to that understood my feeling of isolation as an operator of my business. You see, you're not alone. It is hard running a business, and it's even harder when you know you can't express all your deepest concerns and frustrations with your executive team. It makes them nervous. It gets them scared. You don't want scared people on your executive team. So where do you turn? The Captain's Council is where you turn. The Captain's Council, it is an organization that we are put together with podcast guests, as well as people who are listening who are in the same boat. You see, peers are the only ones that can give you the type of empathy, the type of advice that only a founder or operator know and understand. Go check it out at captainscouncil.com. I know you're going to love what you see there. We have put together an organizational structure that has small group settings, a global community of founders and operators, as well as monthly and quarterly in-person events. You're going to love what you see there. I can't wait for you to check it out and enjoy the rest of this episode. And I'll just speak from personal experience, unfortunate personal experience. I ran an offer once where the ads were super dialed in, way more than we thought they would be at first. And campaign launched, did over $1 million in sales in the first 3 weeks. And my fulfillment partner did the dirty. Like he started plugging in false shipping tracking labels and letting us think that we had shipped, and it hadn't. And so about 30% of sales actually got shipped, killed everything, killed the entire business, lost a lot of money. And it was an embarrassment. And so I warn people against that. Make sure that if you do choose to partner with someone like you and you run a successful marketing campaign, make sure fulfillment is solid. Make sure you got product. Know how much you've got to work with so that you don't oversell, because guess what? You can slow an ad down pretty easily if you can't keep up with fulfillment, right?
Yeah, that reminds me one time during the pandemic, and I'm sure other people have done this too, but during the pandemic, I got a call from my partner Ramsey, and he said, "Hey, I got the call. We can sell masks, and not only can we sell masks, we can print on them." So we were actually the only people in the United States that could print on a mask, and we used to own a one of the first print-on-demand companies back in 2016 called ThreadMeUp, and we had hundreds, if not thousands, of winning designs from T-shirts. So we just took those designs literally within 72 hours, barely slept, stood up a website, got ad accounts going, got 300 designs on a site, and just let it bang. We did $1 million in, I think it was like 3.5 weeks. And
love it,
man, that was a nightmare, because we had to hold the orders for a little while. Shopify held, like, you can't just pop open a store and do $1 million in 3 weeks. Shopify held 250,000 of our money for I think 180 days. Then we had to switch to PayPal. They held 350,000. Man, and we just put it all on our credit card. Luckily, the vendor covered us. But it took a while to fulfill that. We got it all out, but at that point, we had to shut it down. We probably could have done 15, 20 million. It would have been nuts.
Well, I feel your pain. And so for those listening, this is important. Like, there is a different strategy for 0 to 1 million. And then there's a different strategy for 1 to 5 and 6. And then once you hit 10, it changes the game a bit. Like, everything kind of changes at 10. And likely your fulfillment's different. Likely you've got different leadership in place. Like, likely you're not as involved in the day-to-day decision-making and everything's going on. And that's where it is so smart to have reliable partners, like an agency like yours, to come in and actually manage that whole nugget of your company so that you don't have to try and train, hire, and build someone into that role. You have great partners that can set you up that way. So let's talk about your business for a second, because everybody knows what an agency does, and we now know that you guys are very specialized in the pay to play game. And talk to us about your business, though, because we talked offline a little bit about your growth strategy and some of the things that you've done to build your portfolio. Walk us through that. What are some key things that you did to kind of build off of your initial stage of growth into something much bigger?
Yeah, so it just started with three of us. We had no investment, nothing. We, had some minor success selling some companies prior, and we
Right.
decided to pull our resources together. And we had a couple brands and some, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think
Right.
every million that we've grown over the years, excuse me, has unlocked a whole new level of what you said. Like, there's a new level of management, there's a new
Yeah.
level of relieving duties. And I actually think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck here
Oh
in like
yeah.
the 1 million mark, especially in agency world. And I'm lucky that I have two other partners that, like, instead of just one person shielding, having it all, like, you can
Totally.
divide and conquer. And so for us, I feel like that was like, getting to 3 million years ago was like a big, like, hey, we've met what most single individual people could do individually, right? And
Right.
so, each of those levels, you give up a little bit more, a little bit more. We've gotten to a point now where we want to keep growing, and we've realized how we've gotten here isn't how we're going to go to the next level, and we also want to go faster. And so, one of the levers that we've started to pull, and we've been a part of, M&A a little bit with some other
Right.
partners of ours, where they
Right.
ask us to come in and help transition their marketing teams and just overall
Right.
companies. And we're sitting in the board meetings going, this is all you're doing now. It's easier, said than done still, because you got to
Right.
source the deal, negotiate the deal, and then get it done. But now we're tapping into a lot more of an M&A play, where we're looking for hungry agency entrepreneurs that want to stay in the game, don't want to just sell and leave, because I don't want those people. I
Right.
want those hungry people that want to go to the next level. They don't want to deal with all the BS that having to be a solopreneur is,
Right. Right.
and they might just want to sell, or they might just want to work with the biggest partners
Right.
out there. And so we've started doing a lot more of that.
I love
And
it.
the best people in our industry start agencies. Now, typically
Right.
when they do that, they get a little burnt out because they're doing all those things. So,
100%.
for us,
Yeah.
it's like, we want to bring those people on. What you've built is beautiful. Let's bring it in. We're all Doe Media now, in the Doe Media family, even though we act more like a team than a family.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just our dynamic. But we're really
Sure.
leveraging that, and it's allowed us to expand not only our clients, but also our services. We wanted to add on email, we wanted to add on Amazon, we want to add on TikTok. Well, any agency can just pick those up, be like, yep, now we're going to learn TikTok ads and we're going to learn how to do it. It's like, no, we went out, we sought out the best at doing that. So we
Right.
we acquired Chase Chapel, and so Chase is now a
Right.
partner in Doe Media, which is amazing. And Chase is
Right.
doing amazing things out there.
Totally.
And so, we want to keep bringing those type people, and we want to be at that Vayner level. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
and we're really young. We're younger than where Gary even started Vayner, and
Right.
we're already way ahead of where he started there. And
Right.
so we
Right.
just got to climb that mountain and get there a little bit faster. So we're
I
coming
can
for you,
totally,
Gary.
I can, I can totally appreciate that. And honestly, this is a really important thing for those listening, because growth through acquisition is a fun play. It's a fun strategy, because there are so many people stuck at $1 million and they don't know how to get over that ledge. And when you provide them a path by just, hey, bring what you've got in and we'll make it better. And bring what you've got, and now you don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z too. And it's like, that play brings a whole new game to your business, because a lot of times you make up for that price you just paid to buy them out in the first year of revenue from their existing clients, let alone the value that they're bringing into your business. It's just enormous in some cases. For example, your experience with Chase. Walk us through that, by the way, because that's a fascinating case study on how, what did that do to your bottom line revenue, and what did it do to, not bottom line, top line? What did it do to your top line revenue, And how did that acquisition fold out for you guys?
Yeah. So, it's kind of funny how we met Chase. He was raising capital for one of his other businesses, which is in the marketing realm called Surge.
Uh-huh.
And I knew he was really intelligent and working on some cool things. And he said, "Hey, I also have an agency on the side." And this is when we kind of just started like toying with the idea of wanting to
Right.
acquire some agencies. It was about a year ago now.
Right.
And I told my partner Ramsey, I'm like, hey, like we should probably talk to this guy and see if he like wants to sell it and do something bigger with us.
Right.
And the guy who introduced me to Chase actually uh, ended up having a house at South by Southwest. I called Ramsey and I said, hey Ramsey, you got to go to South by Southwest. There's going to be some cool brands and people there. I want you to meet
Right.
meet all these people. Didn't know Chase was going to go, and I couldn't make it unfortunately. And Ramsey
Yeah.
calls me and he's like, hey, I met this really cool guy named Chase. We should acquire his agency. And I'm like, I've been
That's
trying to
awesome.
tell you that.
That's
So,
awesome.
Chase had a lot of really exciting opportunities, and we
Yeah.
liked everything that he was working on, and we just knew that we could take it to the next level. And so, even just Chase coming on, we'll easily be able to 2 to 3x over the next 18 to 24 months, just
Love
based
it.
on all the deal flow that he has. And
Love
we're
it.
also looking at 3 more brands right now to just keep stapling on. And the
Love
next
it.
levels, we want to go to that next bigger level.
Right.
I've met a couple people that have grown agencies past 100 million,
Right.
and they really gave a lot of amazing insight of how they got there and how to do it. Now, most of those people have done it over 25 years. We
Sure.
want to do it in 10.
Yeah.
We'll see if
Yeah.
that happens, but
Well, I'm rooting for you, man. I mean, this is how you do it, though. And truthfully, a lot of people listening to this are nervous about that. They feel like, dude, I can barely maintain my cash flow now. How am I going to function if I go and acquire somebody? Like, how did that first deal feel to you, and what made it more comfortable to do it again?
I don't want to say that I'm ever comfortable. I don't want anyone to think that because
Right?
I live in an anxiety high zone. Like me
Totally.
and Ramsey and Jacob and Chase, like we're grinding. We're just
Yeah.
doing it. There is no fail, right?
Right.
Fail
Right.
is just another obstacle we need to get over and go to the next, go to the next. So, I don't
Right.
think any of it's easy. None of it is
Right.
easy. It's in fact, I think it's all incredibly more challenging.
Yeah.
Um, that's another reason that I want to keep growing is because I'm like, man, if I get a little bit bigger, it's going to get a little bit easier, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe certain things I don't have to do anymore, but
Right.
there's always new challenges that you don't
They're always.
consider. And
Always.
so, but that's exciting. That's the game. So that's what keeps me going.
Well, and I would suggest to you, and you probably already have recognized this, but through additional acquisition, you also need to be keeping your eyes focused on where is the talent that you need now to take you to the next level. And oftentimes, you're able to find that role in an acquisition of someone that's like, dude, my strength is systems, and I've got this amazing, ClickUp configuration that all my, you're like, dude, we've been looking for someone to revamp our ClickUp. You know what I mean? It's like you can find those through acquisition, and they don't even need to know that that's why you acquired the business. You know what I mean? Like you'll find, and this will be fun to check back in with you in the future, where that goes in terms of attracting the right client, the right acquisition that brings you something that's ancillary that they may not recognize as a huge skill set that you need, but you do, and you're like, got to
Exactly.
make this deal happen.
Exactly. I was always a big fan. Me and Ramsey believe revenue brings and solves all problems. Because if you got constant
Yes.
revenue, you can
Yeah.
buy all the solutions for your problems. If you
Fair
don't have
enough.
revenue, you can have the best processes in the world. It doesn't mean shit if you don't have revenue.
Yep. 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 Yeah.
But I
It's
agree.
weird how that works, isn't it?
That's honestly the next couple of acquisitions we want to make are probably going to be a little bit more operational
Yeah.
than sales. And
Yep.
so if there's any agencies listening to
Smart.
this or anybody, definitely reach out.
Fair enough. I love it. Well, talk to me about, you know, acquisition sounds really fun and rosy, but talk to us about the challenges. Like, what are some hiccups that you found early on that that you've been able to, overcome, and maybe some advice for people that are looking to get through their first couple of acquisitions.
Yeah, number one, don't listen to any lawyers that want to extend things because lawyers get paid by the hour. And so when you're dealing with any of these things, you need to be, first of all, you want to make sure you get a really good lawyer. It's okay to pay those higher prices, but be very
Right.
clear. Here is my budget, and if you go
Yeah.
over and don't get this done, that is on you, and that means you didn't ask the right questions because I'm
Yeah.
not paying over that fee. And lawyers, both sides will want to drag this out. Well, what about this? What about this? Literally, I won't mention the deal, but I had to take two lawyers in a room and I had to be their manager. And I said, no, both of you guys, I don't care. Shut up. This is
Right.
what we're doing. Answer their questions. There's no ambiguity. It's these things or nothing. And I'm walking. So
Right.
I think like that's number one is like, no, because that bill will get expensive.
Oh yeah.
I think the second thing is just, you have to find, I'm big on like entrepreneur has to come unless I'm buying like one of a couple partners out, but and they
Yeah.
have to see the long-term vision. There's a lot of people that will buy
Right.
for the clients or the logos and things like that. That's more, private equity. That's not what most people like us are going to do. I want
Yeah.
people that are going to be here, that want to grind, and we see the same vision, because you don't
Yeah.
want to have arguments on, you have to make sure like this is what we're doing. Are you on the same page
For
or are
sure.
you not? And then I think team culture, because you have to have a really good culture fit. I know several agencies that I won't mention that I think that the founders got pretty big and sold it and just didn't care. Well,
Right.
there's a whole bunch of people there that do care about where
Yeah.
that company was and what it did, and you can go into a whole new culture and it can be damaging. There's a big known name that just sold twice, and the first time it sold to a bigger conglomerate completely wrecked that company. All the top talent left.
It's too
And
bad.
it's funny because they all started, a lot of those top talents started their own agencies now.
Right. Right.
The cycle just continues.
It
So
continues. It continues, and for the better, I think, in most cases. And it is sad, and obviously, in your scenario, you don't want to do that. Obviously, in an acquisition, you don't want the culture to fall apart, and that's why, to your point, you just talked about alignment of those cultures and alignment of their vision of where they want to take it. To me, in looking at your scenario, it's so smart of you even to make the pitch here over the air of saying, "Hey, if you're worn out and you're tired and you're really good at one part of your business, maybe better than the other guys, let's talk." Because I think there's a lot of people that have tried their own agency, they get worn out, they're not good at customer service, they're not good at some part of it, and they're just worn out. And
yeah.
it's a grind. But
You,
when they partner with people that handle the parts that they suck at and they bring some extra value in what they're good at, great things happen.
you got to find the things that are going to energize you through the things that suck. And I think that's true for founders, for employees, team members,
Right.
what have you.
Right.
Find those things that really give you enough energy to get through everything else, and you'll be okay.
Love it. Love it. Well, dude, I appreciate so much the time we've had today. And I really do feel like there's a lot of people out there that are in need of a good marketing partner, in particular in the paid ad space. I think that is voodoo magic to most people. Even good marketers have a hard time staying up with all the changes, the constant changes in paid
Yep.
ads. And so what do people want to do if they, again, going back to your avatar, who are you looking for? And those listening, how would they engage with you if they want to talk paid ads?
I would say if you're between 1 and 160 million and you need to take it to that next level, whether you have it in-house, you're with a shitty agency, or you want to
Right.
bring it all to one place, Doe Media is experts in Facebook, Google, TikTok, Snapchat, TikTok, Amazon, email, and web dev. And the only reason that we're the greatest at all those is because we hired and acquired the best in all those individual
Love
different
it.
realms.
Love it.
So you can go to doemedia.com and get on a call with
Awesome.
me.
Well, we're putting all the details in the comments below. So those of you listening, please, 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 please know where your game is, because it is so important. Marketing is such an animal. And if you don't have an entire team doing it for you, chances are you're going to fall behind the curve within months, weeks, sometimes, of what you just ran that worked. And so this is one of the areas I consider in all of marketing the most critical, to find someone that this is their jam. This is what they do, because when you don't, it's so easy to fall behind the trends. So Nick, thanks for taking the time to be here with us. And thanks for giving us the scoop on acquisition growth.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Todd.
Hey, I hope you liked that content. I loved that interview. Nick is just a great guy, and we had a really fun conversation on and off the screen, talking about marketing, talking about growth. And I can't emphasize enough to you how important it is to have a good paid partner. Paid ads are they are a game, for sure. Every platform's got their own rules. Every platform's got their own ways of doing things. And to have an expert that knows how to do it in each platform is invaluable. So do your homework, but talk to these guys about what they could do to help your business. I promise it'll help you in a lot of ways. And for those of you that are still trying to get to that million mark, it's okay. You'll get there. Just stay focused on fulfillment, stay focused on product, and you're going to get there. And when you're there, then it's the time to start looking at a strategic partner like this. So hope you enjoyed the content. Enjoy this interview. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you go to growthreadiness.com, growthreadiness.com. It is I have a free assessment there where it helps you understand where you're falling short in your growth strategy. And we want to help companies grow and scale in an efficient, effective way. And I think you can when you know where your weaknesses are. So take the growth readiness assessment and figure out why you're stuck in the revenue place you are. And let's figure out how to make it better for you so you can get all the way out there to the place you want to be. Thanks so much. Enjoy the episode. And thanks for being a part of the Growth and Scaling podcast team. We'll see you on the next one.